story was when you find something that you're like, oh wow, did I find that? And I think you did for Koya.
I mean, I don't know if this was intentional, and I don't want to like give away any spoilers or anything, because there was so much that I loved about the book. But I think in terms of your writing, I just love the way you use juxtaposition throughout the book. And like right from the get-go, the title of the book is clearly invisible in Paris, and the clear and invisible, those antithetical terms, you know, they just kind of lay the, they kind of just lay the narrative out there for the reader already from the beginning, because you know that this book, it kind of highlights the contradictory nature of the book. And I think that was my favorite part of the book, was this paragraph that you wrote about duality.
Can you read it?
I can.
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay, I have it.
I don't expect you to remember it.
Please, I actually do. I'm really good at like memorizing quotes and stuff.
I won't remember it.
So I mean, I can read it, but
you don't give a shade for this for memorizing your book.
But I mean, you talk about, this is a quote from the book, the inseparability of contradiction, and how basically light doesn't exist without darkness, or there's no winter without summer. You can't feel happiness without having felt sadness, and essentially just stating that there is no good without the bad. So I think that was a very hopeful paragraph, because it just kind of shows that there's a balance in the world. But then more than anything, I found that it ties in with all the characters of the book, and how they are so different, and how they are such opposites of one another. They're all foils of one another, the four main characters, Violet, Dasha, Neera and Roselle, just reiterating it for everyone. But they're so opposite and they're so different, and I somewhere like to believe that that's what attracted them to one another. I like the whole idea of opposites attracting and opposites complementing each other. Like, you know, in real life you see two, like a couple, and they're so different but they go so well together. And yeah, that we kind of seek things in other people that we don't find in ourselves. So I love that. I love that you complete me kind of a thing.
This part that you talk about, the contradiction, inseparability of contradiction, it is actually in reference to Dasha, the younger girl, whatever happened.
Terrified, of course.
Not allowed.
She was like, no one I've ever met before, and I was like, I don't know how to respond to her. I was like, she's gonna eat me alive. I swear that's my first impression of you. And as we got to know each other, and as I spent more time with you, I feel like she brought out this really sassy side to me that not a lot of people get to see, and I really enjoyed that. And also I learned that she's, you know, into plays and writing plays, and in our breaks, like literally on set, she'd be writing a play and making her own stuff, and I thought that was so inspiring. I'm complimenting you now because I called you scary earlier.
Please note that. Because I'm so terrified, I love it.
No, I'm not anymore though.
No, she's
now
I'm amazing that she has no.
Yeah, Koel, you're terrifying. I just want to put it out there. In a good way though.
This is actually an intervention. The book is just a joking, obviously.
Yeah, but it was literally, you were talking about, you know, people wouldn't expect you to feel like an immigrant or feel like an outsider, but when I saw you, it was like you just exuded this self-confidence, and you were just powerful, I would say.
The difference between self-confidence and self-acceptance.
You are at your worst, and I think that was such a like true statement, because I mean, I've studied in the UK and New York as well, and I feel like it wasn't the place, it was more the people that kind of made it home, and the friendships that I made.
You have your own immigrant story about this as well, right? Like,
I mean, I wouldn't say I was really an immigrant at all.
Outside the story.
I was in boarding school, and I went when I was 15 years old. I left home when I was 15. So I think that was very scary, because it was definitely a culture shock, and I think it took me a while to feel at home, and when I did, it was because of the people there, and how their friendship and their love made me feel seen when I kind of felt invisible.
Cole's gonna cry for sure.
I have to.
So yeah, I really resonated with when Violet said that about home feeling like a person more than.
I love that. You know, one of the things I'd love to know now that we always talk about how these moments change us. You know, somebody's a stranger a whole life and then they become your whole world. So why don't we, just so we acclimatize everyone without any spoilers, tell everyone how these four wonderful women met.
Oh,
Really? You could leave them on a cliffhanger.
I mean, read that bit or tell them. Tell them.
You decide. You wrote the book.
Okay. How do they meet? No, but let them read the book about this. Okay, I think that's better if they read the book about how they met.
I have some.
Yeah. Okay. Go on.
I think, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, just scrap everything that I said. Just
Okay.
forget.
Love it.
There's another line where this is the moment that they met, not to spoil it. But there's a line that you write that says, biryani brought them together, or biryani brings people together. And that's how that was their kind of first meeting, like their first meal together was Neera cooked them some biryani and they all were kind of eating biryani together. And when you wrote that, I got so excited because it's my favorite food and like, I need that line on a t-shirt because I was so...
Merch is ready. Who wants a t-shirt that says biryani brought us together? I'm in for that.
Biryani brings people
That
together.
was
You're
my
right.
favorite part.
Oh yeah, but that is, I have to say I love writing that part because there's a flood that happens, it's all happening in the same building, no one is there except these four women, they don't know that they kind of exist even, everyone's busy, I don't want to ruin anything for you about that, but they're all busy. Neera is a bitch, I mean she's really awful, right, to everyone and everything, but she's alone. And for whatever reasons, and then because these women are helping her with the flood, she's like, I made biryani, and that's not a dish you eat alone, you know. And it's literally like that. And then eventually, when you sit and you eat, they become buddies.
That's amazing. You know, one of the things I've always marveled at, and what makes this book uniquely you, is that it's also set in